Hello and welcome to another video. Let's look at using IRs in Logic's Space Designer. What does that mean? Using impulse responses in Logic's Space Designer. Impulse responses are files which have been recorded or processed by a person. Originally, a room might have been recorded in a few different ways, either a sine sweep or a clap of a hand or a bang of a balloon or a starter gun pistol type thing, an impulse that bangs around the room and some microphones are in that space that record it. You can also capture things like guitar cabinets and this kind of thing with that same technique. And kind of that's what happens with IRs. They're used for capturing elements, qualities of static spaces, static things. And that's what we normally use Logic's Space Designer for, as a reverb. So we'll load reverb files into it and stick it on a send bus and send things to it to make it sound like it's in that space. What else can you do with impulse responses? What do? I have a mic impulse collection, which is a collection of files that represent the tonal qualities of different microphones from over the years, and when I put them on an instrument or a vocal channel, it changes the tonality of that sound. It will make it sound like it's coming through that microphone, for example. It might not be totally accurate, but it will colour the sound in an interesting way that is creative, and I'm telling you, it's fun. And what else can you do with impulse responses? You can use them as a guitar cabinet, which is what you might find in things like Native Instruments guitar rig, and insert your favourite electric guitar distortion plugin here. They'll all be using convolution systems. Convolution is the method that's used to interpret the IR files and turn them into something that you hear. That's how the things are processed, through a convolution matrix kind of mechanism thing. So there's three ways of using Space Designer. One conventional way as a reverb, and two other not as commonly used treatments. So let's have a look at some of those in use. So what we've got here, we've got a very dry synth line. And if I just turn on this, we can hear that reverb is now going through that space. This is just a Space Designer preset loaded up, narrow halls from this menu here. Just load up another one. That's what you do. That's how you load presets from the Logic database of presets. But what if you've got loads of files that you've downloaded from somewhere else? Let's have a go. Let's bung some stuff in here. Let's see what we've got. Hey, let's hardware captures. Oh no, hold on. We want spaces, real spaces. So let's have a look. We've got something in Focky. We've got a factory hall. So let's bung that in here. All we do is drag it from here into Space Designer, and it will load it in. And here we go, factory hall. Crazy. Let's do another one. Just drag stuff in. A dustbin. It's going to sound bad. Yeah, that's just very resonant. What have we got here? There's loads of very small spaces there. Let's have a look here. Telephones. A church. That'll be big. Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of how you drag and implement your IRs, impulse responses, from your own directory of folders, files you might have downloaded. I'll give a link to the KVR impulse response kind of thread, which has been going on for many, many years. And folks, including myself, we just add new free sources of impulse responses into this enormous thread. So there are thousands and thousands of free impulse responses available for you to download today. I'll put a link probably on the screen now, but then I'll put a link in the description of the video. So that's kind of conventionally how you might use a reverb thing. So let's have a look what I've written here. emulating room or space, usually set up as an aux bus channel using the instrument channel send, instrument/vocal channel send. So you always set it up as a bus channel, as its own separate thing, so you can send multiple things to the reverb space because you want them all to sound like they're in that space type thing. Don't forget, because it's on another channel, to set the dry to mute, this down here to mute, otherwise you'll hear the dry signal coming through, and you don't want that because you want it to sound like you're in another space. And you can EQ before if you need, because some impulse responses have exaggerated resonant areas because of the thing that they were capturing. Like that dustbin a minute ago had a lot of stuff in the low end, so it got a bit beefy down there, didn't it? So you might need to EQ things. You'll only really know that when you put things through your impulse response and listen to it and hear where the resonant frequencies. That's up to you to listen to that with your ears and judge it on your own. So let's have a look at what we're going to look at next. Mic impulse response. First in the chain, because you're kind of emulating the first bit of equipment in the chain that the person is singing or playing through. And again, you want the dry on mute because you only want to hear the mic impulse characteristic. Briefly, what I was going to do actually was just play you what impulse responses sound like. So this is what the church sounded like. It's kind of long. Just sounds like a slap in a space. But that's the sound of the reverb, and all the sound, you know, all the synth or whatever I've got going through it is multiplied through time but against that sound, which is kind of what impulse responses and convolution technology does. It multiplies forward through time. It's a strange thing to say, but there, I said it. So let's look at mic impulses. What I've got here, so I've got just a very unfamiliar, or maybe familiar to you, Byron improv from the Apple Logic Loops library. And you can hear that. Got a tiny little bit of compression and EQ after, well, just in the chain at the moment. And so the sound goes from here into this channel and then into this channel. So we've got the mic impulse channel here. Look, currently it's disabled. So let's turn it on. See what we've got. While I go over here and check the vintage mic folder. Here we go. So these are all the microphones. Again, let's have a quick listen to these. They just sound like clicks and pops. Very subtly different. But that's what they sound like. They're very short. The sound is multiplied through these very short sounds and imparts the tonal qualities and the phase aspects of the sound onto the material that's going through it. So this is an Octavia ML16. Let's just bung this one on. Some of them might not sound too different initially because a microphone is a microphone. Let's have a listen. Another one. There we go, that's vastly different. And this. Back to the original. Have a listen. Ooh. That's very frequency rich, isn't it? And it's getting vastly cut down with these little impulses. Just grab another one. Yeah, but they're not too different. But in the bigger scale of things, they'll make a big change later on down the chain when you start compressing and EQing and doing whatever you want to do. But so these will always be in the kind of first position in the chain, and then they'll hit your other pieces of processing. Yeah, that's how you use an impulse response. I'll link to the big folder again that's got a link to this vintage mic folder somewhere online somewhere. But that's cool. I like that. I do that on vocals quite a lot. Handy for just adding subtle coloration and just sort of tonal management because of the EQ response of the microphone that was recorded. Very interesting and handy. I'd say have a look at that. And let's look at the third thing I wrote here, as a guitar cabinet. So normally, yes, like I said earlier, you'll get in things like Guitar Rig and your other electric guitar plugins and softwares, you'll get cabinets, and in those cabinets there'll just be there'll be an impulse response capture of your guitar cabinet, the thing with the speaker in that's a wooden box, and it'll be captured by sending either a sine sweep, like a big signal, or like a pop, a bang or a click or something, usually sine sweeps because they capture the tonal aspects of the thing that you're trying to capture slightly better than just a bang or a pop or a click or something. So and you'll have the guitar cabinet at the end of your chain. Normally, after your distortions and plugins and stuff, you've got your flanges and whatever, your delays and your plugin chain, and then you've got distortions, etc., etc. And then after that, conventionally, you hit what's called, the kind of the preamp stage, the box stage, the stage that amplifies your guitar signal and EQs it and distorts it or whatever, and then it goes into the guitar cabinet, which is the thing that you can model or change your guitar cabinet using IRs. Set up your pedal chain and then distortions, and also go to your microphone impulse to capture the cabinet. So that's afterwards. You can use another microphone after the cabinet, and also it's a good idea to stick a room reverb or something, because until you do, it'll be very dry. So let's have a look at doing this. We've got a slide guitar here. I've got a pedal board there. Let's turn this all off so we know what we're listening to. So that's the dry signal. I'll stick the pedal board on just to beef it up a bit. Want something interesting. There you go, that's some beef in it. Ooh. The signal isn't breaching zero or anything, there's no clipping or anything going on here, it's all distorting in the plugin there. So let's turn on this cabinet. Oh, there you go, instant change of coloration. Let's have a look. I've got a cabinet folder here. There's a load of speakers here. What about these? Let's try these. See, all I'm doing is just dragging them out of my folder here, plop them in Space Designer. And it colours the sound, as you can hear. They all do it differently. They're all very... Ultimately, impulse responses, I think I've said this already, they're very complex EQ shapes and phase kind of adjusters, ultimately, which changes the tone of the signal, the sound of the signal, how it responds to pieces of equipment further down the chain. Let's try a couple more. Again, this is a bit dry, so let's stick it in a room. Oh, I think I put this in a stairwell or something, didn't I? Real spaces. That's probably a church or something. Well, that's really long, isn't it? Let's just plop another one of these in here, a bit more normal. It's crazy, isn't it? Anyway, I'll put a link to, I hope you learnt something out of this, how easy it is to just drop your impulse responses onto Space Designer and how best to use those impulse responses. So we've got your reverb impulse responses going to a bus channel, a Space Designer on a send channel with dry down. You've got the mic impulse version where you just use one in the chain at the top of the chain and drop your mic impulses in. You could stick cabinets in here as well. Stick cab impulses in here. Why not? Just like go mad. See what you can do. And you've got the other method of imparting the sound of another cabinet onto your distorted guitar. And then you stick it in a room. So there you go. I hope that gave you some interesting information. I'll stick some links around here somewhere in the description or something. And go off and make some impulse response based music, or not, just stick impulse responses in your music and see how mad it goes. Enjoy your day. Go and make music, I insist. Thank you for coming.